I think my biggest gaming hot take is that Resident Evil 4 is the absolute worst in the entire franchise. And yes, that is including Resident Evils 5 and 6. Now, the reason for this is because I grew up playing first 3. Resident Evil 3 is one of my all-time favorite video games, right? And even though it's not a Resident Evil game, to a lesser extent, I consider Dino Crisis to be a spiritual member of the Resident Evil franchise. When they went from this genuinely terrifying survival horror to this campy action schlock, it just made me just hate the series. I genuinely think Resident Evil 5 is better than Resident Evil 4. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are getting really mad at me, but from my perspective, Resident Evils 5 and 6 are literally no different from Resident Evil 4. If you say you hate Resident Evil 5, I take that as you saying that you don't like Resident Evil 4. But I think because Resident Evil 4 was the first one to do something different, a lot of people out there have tricked themselves into thinking that it's a good Resident Evil game, when in reality, it is simply just a good action game with horror elements. It's not a through and through true horror game in the way that the previous Resident Evil games were. I'm willing to accept that this is a hill that I'm standing on alone. I know that I am in the minority opinion when it comes to Resident Evil 4, but that does not change the fact that Resident Evil 4, in my opinion, was nothing more than a soulless pivot to a more easy-to-adapt style of gameplay, right? Like, they added in these loops where you're just gunning enemies down, and you can grind them out for points and for ammo, and then you have gold, and you use the gold to exchange that at from the fucking what are you buying fucking guy. And it's not scary. It's not terrifying. I never once did I feel any ounce of fear or even like being threatened when playing Resident Evil 4. I also did not feel that way about Resident Evils 5 or 6. So imagine the breath of fresh air when 7 came out, which, yes, still kept some of the campy action elements to the gameplay, but the core loop stopped being about this running and gunning and went back to more inventory management and actually trying to think your way around whatever the situation is. That is terrifying when you have very limited finite resources. Unlimited ammo makes nothing scary, because I just gun it, okay, I run out of ammo, alright, I'll just knife you down until you drop more bullets. What is there to be scared of? My main takeaway and thoughts on Resident Evil 4. Again, I know I'm in the minority opinion, but I've held this opinion for longer than most of you have been alive, so